Test, test. How we sounding? Maybe good, maybe not. Let's find out. Actually, that's not half bad. All right, so let's do the song. Testing the sound with the music. It's going well. It's not so bad. Oh, I think we're auto playing. Ha ha ha. Well, I was doing some testing, but I guess we're going to go live now. I don't know, I saw Rolo do this thing where he does, like, you know how he does this little heavy metal music and gives you a little pump-up crowd like he's playing a rock concert? I don't know, I'm doing the one solo, so I don't have to use StreamYard, so I thought we'd do it. Anyways, whatever, we'll see how this one goes. Welcome to the cyberpunk themed one. If you guys don't know, there's a reason I picked that. Right, first off, I gotta I don't want to hear myself blather on. There's a point. If you guys don't know, cyberpunk is the it started with like Neuromancer and it's since moved on to like Blade Runner, Fifth Element, all that kind of shit. To easily sum it up, high tech, low life. Technology has made us like better off than we ever were. Because we're human beings, it removes our humanity. And I swear to God, it's what so that's kind of where I'm going with the men without frame and things they do. Now, as usual, when it's one that is just me, I don't have the pause time to actually type in the little topics. I'm trying to put timestamps on these things so you guys can actually have a little way to go back, and maybe there's topics you like, maybe there's things you're interested in, but obviously can't do that, so you have to put up with a little bit of dead silence every now and again. So if you don't know, I put out a tweet, put the topic, I put it in here, and it kind of gives you a brief idea about where things are. Oh, is this one too loud? Well, how annoying is that? Oh, that's why it's fucking blasting. Anyways, it's supposed to play that one thing as like an intro and then switch over to the loop. The loop is supposed to be much, much quieter. I think that was where I wanted it, at about 40 decibels. Okay, so a bunch of topics. The 6-year-old boys versus girls dodgeball elementary game nonsense. Men raised as defective women. And Chad never knew how to Chad. And most men are meant to fail hard. Pretty straightforward for topics. Let's get into it. The original inspiration for this... Oh, by the way, hey guys, I totally where's my manners. How's it going? It's good to see you. Welcome to it. Smash the like, whatever. Wine More Please actually had a great thing on this. So if you don't know, he and I have been around this space since like easily 2014. Same as any guy. Some things happen. The way you model the world originally doesn't seem to help. And so you have to figure out a better solution. Luckily, there's a bunch of guys in the He-Man Woman Haters Club to get that thing done. He had a great starting post. But before I get to that, what do I mean when I tell you guys the 6-year-old boys versus girls dodgeball nonsense, boys versus girls crap. I've been kind of inspired. So if you don't know, like, you know, we talk in the Rule Zero guys amongst ourselves, and obviously there's a lot of value for you guys. There's information that you may not have been aware of that'll help you guys either in a relationship or when you're single, just trying to, you know, meet girls for the first time, or past that. You're past the point where, you know, you're letting the little head lead on the big head, and you kind of want to get past that belongingness stage of like the Maslow's hierarchy and get into peer esteem and self-actualization. So there's a lot of value there. The problem is that value is boring. And I can tell you right now it's boring. I've got numbers to prove it. I look at my videos, and if there's one where I disagree with one of the women or one of the whammon, then yeah, it's good. I mean, you got good, awesome core audience in here. That's great. But I put out something where like I disagree with whammon here, and all of a sudden it's just everywhere. It's like, oh my God, screw this girl. And it's literally like a nitpick A to Z selection of anger phase disqualifications. I don't like that girl. I don't like her for this, for this, for this, for this, for this, for this. I can almost see if a girl is online talking about sexual dynamics and making a YouTube career out of laughing at incels, yeah, you're gonna get a bit of hate. It's like, what were you expecting? You can't go into Thunderdome and expect 2 men to leave, you know? But crazy views, because guys love indignation and girls love indignation, because those ones get like 30,000 views, which should let you kind of know the scope of the problem. Like that Emma one I did, was it this week or last week? I don't know, whatever. So and this is the dodgeball thing. So she puts out a video, you know, look at this guy doing goofy stuff. Let's laugh at him and say some snarky things back. 30,000 views. About the same size a channel as mine. I put out some things, you know, whammon is wrong, you know, 10,000 views. So right there, it lets you know, like, I don't agree with the premise that MGTOW angry men are the big demographic. I honestly do think that a lot of the indignation is, like most things, commercially driven by the female demographic. Who'da thunk? But that's what sells right now, and that's why, like, I know for a fact a lot of you guys are a fan of Fresh and Fit, and I'm not gonna berate him. He's in the landscape he's in, and that thing is working out for him, and it clearly is. What do they get, like 200,000 subscribers in a year? And what do? They sit in a podcast studio after the bar in Miami with a bunch of chicks who have like OnlyFans accounts, and they basically take a shit all over them. And you guys eat it up because it's awesome. Because, you know, she reminds me of that girl that dumped you in high school. It's like, oh, that looks like my ex-girlfriend in college that sucked 5 dicks and then told me she wanted to save it until marriage. That looks like my ex-wife. Heck with that, bitch. And you're like, yeah, teach her a lesson. And then, you know, Fit will yell at him, and you're like, yeah, that's awesome. And then Kevin Samuels gets on there, and he's like, girl, he basically does like the, so he learned from Stefan Molyneux, like, make fun of them with the egg carton stuff, but don't say the egg carton stuff so that way you don't get booted from the platform. And it's kind of, again, the landscape's kind of annoying. Because if you look at it, you see, from what I understand, I'm not the best judge of this, so you guys might have to correct me in the chat, but like Kevin Samuels used to be like a style, fitness, dressing your best, be the best person you can be kind of account, right? That's why he wears the suits all the time. But that didn't sell. That didn't pay bills. But becoming like Black Jordan Peterson absolutely did. And I don't think it's MGTOW either. Like Anon's in here saying red meat from MGTOWs. I don't think it's MGTOWs. I think it's a larger thing, a larger issue here. A lot of built up resentment. Now, I don't really care about the reasons. I'm perfectly happy to let people navel gaze about that till the sun comes home. But the first part of addressing a problem, and I do think it's a problem, is just looking at the landscape as it is now and not adhering to past grievances. If you want to deal with grievances as a justification why this thing's an issue, then there's a Palestine-Israel podcast I'm sure you can go listen to. They're more than happy to bring up shit that's happened for the last 2,000 years to justify why they do what they do. I'm not into it. So addressing the problem. Yeah. And don't get me wrong. Whatever. Sometimes a little bit of indignation is a good thing. I have plenty of guilty pleasures. when it comes to this stuff. Like watching drunk white chicks in heels falling over themselves, absolutely hilarious. Fail blog stuff. It's like the part of me that used to watch bum fights in the 2000s, if you remember that show, absolutely despicable. Or like Jerry Springer when you were hungover and just had nothing to do when you were in college. Like, I love all that stuff. But I also know at the same time, I kind of grew out of it. And that's kind of like a resentment anger thing. And that's kind of the source of this stuff. And then girls, same thing. Like, I can imagine if you're raised with like girls can do like constant fluffing. Constant. You cannot argue that girls are cheerled their entire lives, which is fine. I mean, from an economic standpoint, it makes sense. Like MasterCard comes out with annual reports showing about the state of like debt and credit over the year. And if I remember correctly, now I'm basing it off a 2016 report. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head because I've had to repeat these ones a bunch. That the female, like women's spending power, not earning potential, spending power. There's a difference. $14 trillion industry worldwide. 14 trillion. It's a big number. That's everything a girl buys online. That's good. That's service. That's $14 trillion. Guys was something like 6 trillion. Like maybe a third. I could be overinflating that one though. I remember it being like less, like it might even be less than a quarter. But here's the point. I have to go back and check it. It's not the point here. Broad strokes. We're doing napkin math. So that's the point. From a commercial perspective, women are by far the more lucrative audience. Add to that marketing. And if you guys don't know, again, boys versus girls 6-year-old dodgeball games are some of the best marketing ever. Because in order to sell things to somebody, people figured this out long ago. You sell people things that they need. That was like the first iteration. You need food, here's food. You need housing, here's housing. Sears used to sell Sears and Roebuck. If you guys, well, none of you guys can remember because it was like the 1900s, the early 1900s. They used to sell you a house and it came in a box and then you put it together. And so people would build their own homes, literally. And then they figured out, okay, so everybody's got a home, everybody's got food, everybody's got shelter. What's next? Well, you know, girls are having to beat clothing at the end of rock, so let's invent dishwashers. All right, so we invent dishwashers and washing machines and all that domestic labor that used to be like a full-time job. Like doing dishes used to take hours. Cooking meals used to take hours. You had to bend over a campfire on the ground. So guys, you know, typical guys, invent all these machines to make our lives super easy. They had it like the wave of the future. Buy some cigarettes, buy a stove. You can live out the trad fantasy that my cigarette ad tells you. Never mind, it never existed, but it sold it as an aspirational model. And you cannot say it's not effective because there are still guys to this day trotting out pictures of cigarette ads saying, yeah, this is the life I want. I'm like, that life didn't exist for them. It's not going to exist for you. And you could argue, well, it's the symbology of what it represents. And I'm like, yeah, it is the symbology of what it represents. It's marketers selling you on an unrealistic and aspirational model of your life in order for you to kill yourself on their product. I would say it's absolutely accurate. And yes, Rob has it exactly right. Norman Rockwell for the win. Now, that was the old model, selling you on what you need. And then during this transition, it was figured out, and I'm not just making this stuff up. There's like, they actually have like advertising annual reports. They talk about these things, general trends, psychology industry, largely psychology. If it wants to make any money, goes into marketing in the same way that like you study geology. And if you expect to have a job, you're going to be in the oil industry. So what you find out is people don't need anything anymore. Like, realize there's more people that die in the world today from eating too much as opposed to eating too little. So don't tell me we have it hard. We don't have it hard. Like, there's grievances, sure, but we don't have it hard the way we used to have it hard. It's orders of magnitude of abundance over scarcity. It makes a lot of changes, but we're going to focus here just on the marketing aspect in the boys versus girls 6-year-old soccer game bullshit or dodgeball game. Marlboro guy died of stage 4 lung cancer. Absolutely hilarious. So people don't buy anything they need anymore because they don't need anything. And we got so good at producing things that nothing was special. Like it used to be, if you wanted like a nice pot to cook with, some blacksmith somewhere had to beat a pot, and there was a blacksmith who made it better than everybody else, and his stuff was worth more and other people's were worth less. Automation and the Industrial Revolution basically commoditized manufacturing. So right now, if I go buy a phone, it's the same phone as everybody else, even the different manufacturers. The difference between the 15 different Android phones is essentially the brand, and that's the discovery that people had made. People don't buy products anymore. And I know I'm probably going to steal a Mad Men quote accidentally out of here, but it's not wrong. People don't buy products anymore. They buy feelings. That's why every time you see a guy looking for an ad for a Chevy truck, what do? They dump 3 tons of lumber into the back and the shocks take it, and he's like, oh, that's awesome. And then there's a gun rack on the back and there's some truck nuts hanging off there and the American flag, red, white, and blue. Go America. Go Chevy. Ford used to have Wayne Gretzky sitting in this Ford truck talking about good old Canadian life. Never mind, he lived in LA for like 15 years prior, and he's essentially an American citizen now. By the way, can you take a moment to recognize how funny it was that one day where somebody knocked the plexiglass off the side and nailed his wife in the face right after she got her nose job done, and then everybody looked over at Gretzky and he's like, oh, there's $100,000. God damn it. So super funny. Anyway, so here's the point. They don't actually sell you on needing a truck. Like you see right now, what is it, the Ford F-150, the half-ton truck. That should tell you everything you need to know right there about how useful a truck is. A half-ton truck, you can get a hatchback that can do that. Yeah, so you don't need this stuff either. But I like that. It's selling me on being a man. You know what? I'm not going to load a bunch of lumber, but I might. And if I do, I'm definitely dropping it from a crane at 20 feet up, and I'm glad to know that the truck can handle it just in case, because it feels like a man. And so you buy a Chevy truck, or you buy Ford Tough, or you buy Dodge 3500 and pick up chicks in it at the bar. That's the funny thing, by the way, and this is kind of like one of the first times in my life where I realized how useless it was. Like, I was raised on a ranch. We actually used trucks. We had to put roll bars on them because trees would fall on them, and you didn't want it crushing your cab and killing the people inside. Or at the very least, ruining your truck. I have truck nuts. Ford Focus. Come on, dude. I got a Lexus CT200. It's fuel efficient. Bitches love fuel efficiency. I drunk videoed you yesterday. Oh, fair enough. Yeah, so we needed trucks. And then I got to the city. And when I was doing... I talk about the time I was doing, like, pickup in my 20s, the military. You guys know the story, whatever. If you don't know the story, ask in chat. Somebody will hook you up with it. And... my buddy Mike, who I used to run to the bars with all the time, had a Dodge 3500. It was such a big truck. It had a stupid little step bar on the bottom, just so you could step up into the thing. It was as big as you can make a truck without requiring an air horn, for fuck's sakes. And it was just absolutely amazing. But the thing was spotless, clean as hell, not an ounce of dirt on it. He had a tonneau cover on the back. Because, you know, you don't need to have the rhino spray on there, because that would be if something needs to be used. Tonneau covers are nice and pretty, and they're like painted all off. So most trucks don't even get dirty. So most people don't need them. And trucks are all generally the same. So what do you sell it on? You sell it on branding. You sell it on feelings. And as far as feelings go, I mean, and hold off the men raised as defective women. That's the next section here. Guys don't buy on feelings as much. We just don't have as many feelings in aggregate. Maybe you do, maybe I do, but not every guy does. And even if they do, they have it to a less extent than women. So I can sell, and that's the weird thing. And you can only, and so what feelings sell? Well, it doesn't have to be positive or negative, only strong. And if that sounds a lot like the way old pickup artists used to talk about game, there's a reason. Marketing, sales, game, it's all human persuasion or human manipulation, depending on how you want to look at it. I have a broomstick and hop where I want to go. I bet you do. Yeah. So girls, what do? And they always used to sell it on fear, greed, aspiration. I think those are there may be another one in there, but fear, greed, and aspiration. If you don't know what I'm talking about, the makeup industry is fear. You're ugly, we can make you pretty so some boy will like you. And in the same way that girls, like, I don't put on makeup for boys to impress boys. I do it for me. And that's because, and that's like the same argument as when people said the Civil War was about states' rights. Well, it's like, yeah, but it was the states' rights to own slaves. So it's like, I'm doing it for me to impress boys. I'm not doing it for the boys. I'm doing it for me to impress boys. Gotcha. Actually, to be fair, though, it's not always to impress boys. Sometimes it's to beat out your frenemies. Like, there's intra and intersexual competition. Same reason why hold my beer is a guy thing. It's like, why would guys do that? Girls don't find it attractive. I'm like, yeah, but guys do. And if you focus solely on that, that means you're kind of... I won't even go there. I'm going to try and avoid the G word as long as I can here, because we're getting popular, so I don't want to be that guy who has to go back on CNN and explain myself, you know? Yeah, I drive 5 miles a week and worried about fuel mileage. I'm not really worried about it. That was just my line back in the day, because in the military, as soon as everybody got out of barracks and got to live on their own in the economy, you would get a better stipend. What they call it is post-living differential. Because depending on what city you were posted in, the cost of living was higher or lower. And people hated to get posted to expensive cities because that basically mean they were poor and had to go on food stamps. Surrounded by a lot of people, didn't look good for the military. But what a lot of guys do is they used to like just French up their cars. We called it French there. They would buy either muscle cars or Japanese sports cars, soup the shit out of them, end up in debt, and be renters until like their mid-30s. I, on the other hand, did not. I bought a Nissan Sentra after I saved up the money for a house payment. And then that was the jokes. Like, look at this guy. He drives like a 4-door, 1.6 liter Nissan Sentra. And I'm like, hey, bitches love fuel efficiency. Having said that, too, guys weren't mad then when I could fit like an entire party of people in the car and drive down to the bar. So, yeah, I don't want to have the Corey Worthington interview. I have no patience for that stuff. Back to feelings. So when you get to the feelings thing here, like they sell you on insecurity. You're pretty when you do this, nobody will like you. That was the sale for makeup, that was the sale for clothing, that was the sale for the entire beauty industry. You're ugly, but we can fix you. Aging too. Anti-aging cream, anti-aging clothes, all that stuff. Ooh. Oh yeah, and because I'm not using StreamYard in this one, I can't pop up the super chat, so I'll read them out. Anyways, thank you, Sam Whiskey, for the $5 one. It's almost 4th of July. Time to wave the Chinese-made American flag. Wait a minute. What day is it today? Oh, good. I was like, did I miss Canada Day? That's our big celebration here, or as I like to call it, Pride 2 Electric Boogaloo. But yeah, I don't enjoy your holiday. For what it's worth. I don't, as a Canadian, I have a hard time celebrating it because that's the day you celebrated kicking our ass. I just can't get into it. Good for me. And then Captain Herring, 20 pounds super chat. Thank you very much. Thanks for the halfway common sense between Rollo's analysis and Rich's Stern bollockings. Bollocking. Is that even a word? Damn, that's some Brit stuff. Also, you've been in a fight? Few Matt burns by the look of it. I don't know if I'm taking that as an insult or what. But I have never been in a fight. I used to train, did a lot of tournaments in that, Taekwondo, MMA. So I've been hurt before. But I think what you're mistaking as rug burn is more than likely just my melanin. Because if you don't know, I am technically a tanned as hell motherfucker. Yeah, no rug burns. No, pretty good skin. And then Irish Alpha, again, €20 super chat. Thank you very much. Feminists bemoan the time that women had no right to work. Even the pre-industrial revolution, they all see high-status careers. The forge, the factory, and trench were dirtier and dangerous and harder than the kitchen darlings. Again, Palestine bitches that 2,000 years ago somebody did something to their uncle and now we have to have this war right now. Nobody didn't work. Before the Industrial Revolution, there was no ability to be idle. And that's the problem. I think they think, oh, domestic work, housewives. They were like my mom was. They just sat at home and did dishes and then drank all day. It's like, no, man. Do you know how much work it takes to beat cloth against a rock? Not as much as working in a coal mine, but I don't think it's a competition and you want to win. But again, that's kind of like the, that bemoaning is the typical way a girl will play dodgeball. Look at how bad it was for me. And that's how bad it is that you can't even complain about how bad you have it. So you have to go like 3 generations back. Dude, my great-great-grandmother had a 25% chance of dying in childbirth. So yeah, like, shut up. And you're like, whatever. And then Captain Herring, no insult attended, looks like bruises on your face. Oh, that's the coloring of the bruises on my face, Jesus. That's the lighting solutions I've got here. I'm eventually going to get more. It's going to be fun. But I wanted to double down on the cyberpunk high-tech low-life thing. I tell you what. Actually, you know what? Whatever. We'll move on from that one. But yeah, no insult taken. Don't worry about it. It's the internet. If that's the worst thing that somebody says about me, I think I'm getting off pretty good. So where was I going with this one? Back from the super chats. Oh, yes. So fear. And then the next one is greed. And that's where, you know, multi-level marketing schemes get girls. Oh yeah, you sign on to this, you do this. And we're at the age now where our girls will see ads for it. It's like, oh yeah, if you just buy these, like Pearl Parties. If you haven't seen those are like insanely popular on Facebook. Actually kind of fun. They're like a girl's equivalent of like gaming streams. But for them, it's like gambling and shit. Like you open up pearls that some Chinese factory makes, and if it's a good one, they send it to you. It's pretty entertaining, actually. I got to give them credit for that. They really do know how to hustle. But the third one, and this is the one I want to address, is the aspiration. The idea that, and it's never outright stated. It's always inferred. It's always subtext. It's always subtle. And this is the game part of it. This is why marketers are so good at game. It's, if you buy this, you can live the lifestyle that I am showing you. And the more vague you are about it, the more that the other person can fill in the dot or fill in the blanks, the better off you are. And that's why you see like health at any size. That's a girl who's like fat and she knows she's fat and she hates being fat. And then some Dove commercial comes on. It's like, hey, you know what? With Dove soap, you're hot the way you are. And they show bunch of fat chicks jumping around, having a great time. Oh, this is great. Life is good. And they're happy. And the girl's sitting there. It's like, am I happy? Not really. This is all like subconscious conversation, right? I'm not saying they actually have this conversation with like their cat or anything. Well, I'm not happy, but those girls look happy and they look so good. Never mind all the post-processing made them look good and the clothing look good and the lighting is perfect. They look happy. And so you associate the product with that happiness. So when you're at the store, you're making decisions, you're stressed because, you know, I got 3 kids by 3 different daddies. I got to take care of this. I got to take care of that. The car's needs in the shop and I have to date a guy tonight. I just need to grab a soap. And then you're just like, you know, Irish Spring, Dove, you know, all 5, 6 different ones. And you see Dove and you're like, your brain's like, oh yeah, that was the happiness one. Grab that, grab that. And so it grabs that. And that's how the aspiration stuff works. And the weird thing is, a lot of people blame marketing, but it's not marketing's fault. Marketing is the tail, and the tail does not wag the dog. And unfortunately, indignation is what sells now, because people are getting atomized, and they hate dating because it's hard to find each other. And most people mistake the tail for the dog in this case, and that's why they blame Tinder. It's Tinder's fault that I can't get a girlfriend. It's social media's fault. These are amplifications of an underlying effect. And it's that people just aren't communities anymore. In big cities, you don't have the ability to network with your immediate... Well, I mean, you do, but it's increasingly more difficult. So people that are social, like in case in point in my building, there's a few people that I know, and they know me, and we always talk to everybody, and we're very social in that, but most people aren't social. And it was easy in a small town because you had to be. People had conversations because they were just bored, something else to do, right? And then you've lost that, and then you amplify it with social media, and then you amplify it with Tinder, and you amplify it with all these things people love to blame, and you end up with people that are essentially atomized and lonely and bored. And people that are lonely and that are bored really drive to having a 6-year-old dodgeball game. Men versus women, boys versus girls, females versus males. Red pill versus feminism. MRA versus feminism. What's the other one? MGTOW versus black pill versus feminism. And I know it's bullshit. You know how I know? And this is a stupid story that I have no desire to tell, but it fits here so perfectly. There's those guys, they call themselves black pill, which is essentially like MGTOW mixed with emo rock, mixed with the inability to play an instrument. And they're just sitting there. It's like, yeah, all this red pill stuff means it's hopeless. Everything sucks. Screw you guys. Women suck. I can't get a girl. Here's a Wojak. Please, please love me. And then there was that one chick who just hated like Rolo and us. Carolina Hermes, that like middle-aged Brazilian chick. The fact that I can't forget about her now is because she sent me stupid like Instagram DMs talking shit, and I was just like, why are you sending me random voicemails? You're not my ex. But I guess she got in with them because they hate Rolo, and she hates Rolo, and she hates me. And then she started hating them. So like these people, as soon, like how strong is it as an ideology? And everybody calls it an ideology. Like how strong is the ideology that as soon as you give the guys a whiff of female attention, they throw it all by the wayside and are like, nope, fuck it. I got my online girlfriend now. And then because they're so stunted, they can't even hold on to each other. The girl's crazy. The guys are crazy. They're made for each other. But that's the problem, is that they mix like gasoline and fire. And now they're off doing like, they're shitting on each other right now. And that's the one good thing. From a marketing perspective, if you're a brand online, if you got people just like throwing hit pieces at you and talking shit, let it happen. Don't even fight it. Because at some point, some other guy who's also doing hit pieces and talking shit will have a problem with the first guy, and then in your mentions they're going to turn into a big Thunderdome where they fight with each other. Your engagement goes up, and, you know, children get to fight with children, and you just stay above it all. Thank God. Ooh, Filbert, I like that. One blowjob from the plantation, and they don't even get that. Yeah. So that's the thing, and guys are increasingly becoming susceptible to it. What are we at here? Half an hour? Yep, that's about time for the switch. We are gonna move. Where'd it go? The second point. Where'd it go? Men raised as defective women. And this is the frustrating part. When I talk a lot about the male-female dynamics being half-truths, it's kind of what I'm getting at. When you hear, like, anything you could say where all women are like that. If you guys know, it's the heuristic that be aware of all the worst traits of female nature. So that way, when exceptions occur, you can take advantage of it, but you're never caught by surprise. Treat all guns as loaded. They can call you paranoid, but they won't call you shot. You know? Ooh, I have to really keep up with these chats here. I don't know what it is, man. The language filter is losing its mind with you guys, so I don't know. Maybe you better get out of that anger phase. Save me on some moderation duties. Men raised as defective women. What the hell does that even mean? If you've been following me on Twitter, and I don't know why you're on Twitter, but thank you very much for the follows. Or on here, you hear me refer to this often. Live streams with Rolo, Rebel Zero, all that stuff. Men raised as defective women. What the hell do I mean by men being raised as defective women? And there's all kinds of takes you can take it. It's not meant to be a statement of truth. That's not the point of it. In fact, none of the red pill is meant to be taken as a statement of truth. Everybody's like, that's why they call it ideology. It's like a statement of value. I'm like, it's not a statement of value either. Ideology is about what ideal world do you want to live in, and then to adapt all your actions to adhere to it. Philosophy, that's just too much thinking. Navel gazing, and that's absolutely not a red pill thing at all. It's praxeology. And for those who don't know, praxeology is a loose science based on action. Easy way to describe it. If you were talking about like architects as an ideology, praxeology is construction work. Praxeology is auto mechanics. Auto mechanics, sitting in a room, hanging out. Hey, how'd you fix your car? Well, the pistons were a little loose, so I had to tighten this on here, change the spark plug to something with less spark. They wear out over this much. Help you build your engine. And the guy's like, oh, that's cool. I'm building a tractor right now, and it's kind of helpful because they have a similar engine. Well, yours is a diesel engine, so you don't need spark plugs. You see what I mean? Everybody just swaps notes about what works to solve a specific problem. And while one guy may be working on his Ford Focus, another guy may be working on a diesel engine for his tractor, another guy may be working on a gasoline-powered supercar, But all the underlying, like the physics doesn't change throughout all of them. What changes is how it's implemented. And so the guy building a supercar can learn something from the tractor guy can learn something from the Ford Focus guy. The Ford Focus guy is teaching something to the supercar guy. I don't know what it is, but I'm sure it's there. And then that's the point. But you got to use your head, right? And that's why it's not an ideology. Ideologies don't need you to think. Ideologies need you to commit. Philosophies need you to think, but they don't need you to act. Praxeology needs you to think and to act. Another way to frame it is if you're thinking about it as a science, science is, at least now, science trademark. Science! It's high rigor, low replication. And this is a problem I'll have with anybody who starts talking about scientific studies. In the social sciences, and increasingly in even the hard sciences outside of mathematics, they're finding that about 40 to 60% of all studies coming out right now cannot be replicated. That means the study is a complete waste of time and a lie. Now, we could say it's because of an error in methodology. We can say it's because of falsified data. We can say it's because of p-hacking. If you guys don't know, the p-value is, there's actually a formula used to figure out what are the odds that the experiment you did happened by pure chance and happened to align with what you were looking at versus it's definitely something that happened. And the idea is just an arbitrary number they pulled out, the p-value of 0.05. I think it is like 5% chance. Or no, 0.2. Well, whatever. Anyways, it's like 5% chance that what happened was random chance as opposed to the thing you were studying. And you can fudge numbers to make that look whatever way you want to. Now, not everybody does it, but some do. So when you talk about research papers, what you're doing is you're saying, trust the science, of which the science itself has suggested in its own meta-studies that about half of us are fucking wrong. It's fine. Over time, this stuff will sort itself out. Doesn't help us today. So why do you use studies in yours? Well, because studies show what I'm trying to get across, and people like appeals to authority. The replication part, though, is the key. So you read a study that says anything. I don't know. You read a study that says chocolate is good for losing weight. There actually was one. That was a fake study, but you get the point. And this is how the getting raised as defective women thing comes in. The way you know it works is like, okay, so let's see the study. What's generally the findings? It says eat chocolate, you lose weight. So let's try it at home. You go home, you have a chocolate diet. You gain weight. You're like, okay, replicated it, does not work. You get another study showing that women are attracted to dark triad traits. That's narcissism, psychopathy, and... Why am I drawing a blank on the third one here? Narcissism, psychopathy... Oh, Machiavellian. Cunning, crazy, and egotistical. Girls find that stuff attractive. So, like, all right, let's go try that one. So you go and you act like an asshole. And then you find out, holy crap, girls like me. In fact, Rob... I may have to make you a mod here because I want you have an essay on this, or I can't remember if it's an essay yet. But he was talking about this. One of the girls he was dating was, it was just a girl, and he didn't really like her, and he didn't really want to like her, and so he treated her like shit. And that wasn't the crazy part, because whatever, oh, don't ever treat women badly. It's like, whatever, here's the thing. She loved it. She was having fun with him. She thinks it's great. This is great. And Rob's sitting there. It's like, I don't get it, man. I treat her like absolute garbage. She keeps coming back for more. I have the same story myself. I used to have a girl I was dating. Called her the dog walker. Like, that's how dehumanizing I acted. I didn't even give her the privilege of a surname. I don't like the name they gave you. I'm going to give my name, which describes the hobby you have. The dog walker. I can't even remember what her real name is right now. But that's the point. And she was just like, the worse I acted, the better she was. Until the one day where I kind of broke character. I'm like, why do you let me treat you like this? And she's just kind of like, I don't know. And then it kind of fizzled off after that. So it serves you right. And then this was my question to Rob. Is it bad behavior if the only person who thinks it's bad behavior is you? Makes you wonder then. So is the problem that men are behaving worse? Or is the problem that men are being incentivized to behave in a certain way and we believe it's worse because we've been basically lied to? Something to think about. And so when I talk about men being raised as defective women, that's kind of what I mean. Like, we're raised to think a certain way about people. And whether it's because your mom got divorced young, because your dad had to work 16-hour days and he was never home. Maybe there's no teachers in your elementary school because everybody is so worried about pedos everywhere that guys have basically been edged out of anything dealing with people younger than 18 years old, and guys are like, I don't want anywhere near that shit. Yeah. After all that, all you're getting is feminine influence. Girls are training you. Girls are teaching you. Girls are basically the reason you're growing up. And I'm not saying it's wholly bad, but it's only half the picture. You're basically raised by a single demographic as opposed to all demographics. Takes a village to raise a child. Well, if the village gets divorced, then whatever. Anyways, Arnold here. Thank you for the €2 super chat. Bonjour, c'est vous, and hello. I don't know what c'est vous means, but bonjour et aussi. Divorce became easy and the pill infinitely painless. Well, here, what's this one from Divana Duckworth? Awesome name, by the way. of the Duckworth family. Everybody talks about how divorce was so much easier now, but that's not true here. I hate bullshit, so we're going to take a small digression into this. Divorce is easier. Separation is as easy as it's ever been. Turns out, lots of people left their husbands, left their wives before when it was at-fault divorce. At-fault divorce has nothing to do with you legally separating from somebody. At-fault divorce prevents you from getting remarried unless you have a good reason to get divorced. And I think there were some fairly decent ones. Abuse, infidelity, gambling, assault, like stuff like obvious stuff. Criminally negligent husbands could get divorced and criminally negligent wives. I think debt might have even been an issue. I don't remember. But that's the point. So people got separated all the time. She moved out. I'm not having nothing to do with this guy. She moved out. Had a new boyfriend. They lived together. They had great fun. But the church was like, oh, you're a hoe if you don't get back with your husband. Give it a shot. So there was that little bit of pressure there. And then they couldn't marry the new person. It used to be, even watch old TV. Like if anybody had Nick at Night back in the day, there used to be, like, you remember in the 80s and 90s how there was like a common TV show theme where somebody's birthday was coming up and then he thought nobody loved him, so he runs away from home. But it turns out that all of his friends and family were throwing a surprise party and he didn't know about it. And at the end, he comes home, realizes, oh, they did love me. They were just hiding it from me. Well, back in like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, I think even, there was that same trope of wife left her husband because he was a bad man. And she met the man of her dreams and he was the greatest. But I have to let you know a secret. I'm technically married to a man and I have to get him to agree to divorce me so I can get married to you and have the love of my life for the rest of my life like I absolutely deserve. So yeah, people separated so much back then that it was like a TV trope. But they couldn't remarry. So when you hear this divorce is easy and, you know, some arbitrary legislative bodies like, you know what, let's make divorce easy. Just fill out some paperwork. And then the family was ruined. It's disingenuous at best, naive at worst, and ignorant. And for those who should know better and are preaching about it, it kind of lets you know, it's like, do I really want to trust this guy? Because he's just telling me what he thinks I want to hear. And there, Ryan Chung, thank you for the 125. Understand those are Filipino pesos, but to me that looks like Dogecoin or something. The legal separation thing is basically how stuff works in the Philippines since we don't have divorce. So yeah, some of the globally behind cultures still have it, right? Anyway, so men raised as defective women. So what does this end up with? This ends up with guys who are increasingly becoming emotional. Part of it's the drain of testosterone. Rich Cooper talks about a lot on his channel. If you look back, the average 20-year-old from 2020 has the same testosterone in his body as the average 60-year-old in 1980. Now, you ask eggheads about that, and they'll say there's something about, like, well, we refined the way we test for testosterone. And it's like, I don't buy it. It's very easy to see just from, like, the bone structure. Like, guys nowadays don't have that Cro-Magnon forehead from a high testosterone, like, you know, being raised chewing on venison all day thing. So, like, obviously it is going down. Part of it is sedentary. Like, now we work in offices, nobody digs ditches anymore, so the physical labor thing's not there. Like, what was the 70s action star Charles Bronson? Used to work in a coal mine in Poland. And then you look at him, he's like 65 years old. He was absolutely jacked. You don't get that anymore. Part of that too is the xenoestrogens. We found out that plastic was essentially leaking a fake estrogen into everybody's body, which was kind of like curtailing our ability to produce testosterone. So part of it's environmental. Like they're making the frogs gay. You know what I mean? So part of it's that. Part of it's that. Bunch of different reasons. You can never source it down to one thing, and that's why everybody's excuses are always easy to refute, because it's more than one thing. It's all the things. Our future MD, absolutely, $10 super chat. Thank you very much. It's the food. Everything has sugar in it. Part of it is obesity. Obesity increases estrogen production. So yeah, eating more. Hormones in the food. You have to do that because, you know, with factory farming, bacteria. Like I said, we could talk about this at length. But the point is, not only from a nurture standpoint, you know, being raised by women, dad's out of the house, teachers are all women. Sometimes guys make it to like 18, 19 years old, sometimes late, get through college without seeing a single male authority figure in your life. And then how to deal with the male sensibilities. Part of it's environmental. The food's got sugar in it. The frogs are making gay and all this stuff. So you got that stuff. Taken together, you get guys that are increasingly becoming feminized. So what effects does that have? Obviously, it's making men less attractive. Girls generally like men, and the rule of thumb is the more feminine the girl, the more masculine a guy she's drawn to. That's why you never notice like girls with booty getting together with guys with pancake ass. It's always like, you know, thick boys, thick girls, skinny people, skinny people. Everybody kind of looks matches up as best they can, right? So you get a bunch of feminine dudes, and obviously girls are going to start acting more masculine to kind of, I don't know if I want to say compensate, but it's just the way it is. Somebody has to be a power top, and somebody has to be a power bottom. And if guys aren't fixing that, not even so much a blame thing here, it's just that's the way it manifests. Sometimes it's outside of your control. That's why take all of these red pill guys. None of us can agree on anything. Well, is it about Christianity? Is it about the white picket fence? Is trad the way to go? The only thing that any of us can possibly agree on is that lifting weights is a good thing. That should give you pause. Pat Stedman even agrees that lifting weights is a good thing. He went and he Instagrammed himself doing a workout once. So that should just tell you, if Pat Stedman and I can agree on something, then anything can happen. Anything's possible. And then you add to that the atomization we're getting right now. Social media makes it easier to connect with everybody, but our physical world is making it harder to connect with everybody. And you end up with this weird runaway amplification effect. Men are increasingly becoming feminized. Girls are increasingly becoming masculinized because A, aspirational model. Girls aspire, and this is a generality here, so I don't want to hear no nitpicking. Girls aspire to have a strong man in their life. In that same feeling that the little girl had when she has a dad that she adores more than everything, and he was like, he could protect her from anything, save her from the world. It's a very comforting feeling, you know? And then you go out to there to see guys, and a lot of soy guys, a lot of guys that have been told, yeah, if you want to get the girls, be their friend, and this. Imagine telling that girl's dad, hey, your 4-year-old daughter, you need to be her best friend. And he's like, why? How about I just keep anything bad from happening to her, and I make sure she's taken care of, and we fool around every now and again, play games, put her paintings on the fridge, pat her on the head, tell her she's a good kid, kiss on the forehead, send her off to school. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not meant to be your friend, I'm meant to be your parent. So like the idea of being a girl's friend first doesn't make sense. She's like, I don't want to sleep with my friends. I could sleep with my friends. I have a lot of friends. I don't want a friend. Friends are fickle. For girls, friends are very fickle, but a good man, it's a good thing. Hold on to him forever. He's awesome. You know, as long as he is, because nothing's ever sure. So you get men that are increasingly becoming defective women, and now we're at the point that those same marketing gimmicks that used to work on women are working on men. Like I saw on Instagram. They do ads every now and again, and there was this one of a guy worried about getting older and getting wrinkles under his eyes, and so he had an eye cream for it. And I swear to God, somebody went into 1987 and stole like a Clinique ad and just put a dude on there. And a African-American dude too. I'm like, whatever happened to black don't crack? Now they're all worried about eye makeup? Like, what the hell? And then there was this other one about blocking zits with like man makeup, but they didn't call it makeup. It was like Tough Mudder or like Bondo, or I don't know what the hell they call it. Something masculine shit. So I'm like, dudes, I know it's supposed to be a joke that we have the testosterone of men in their 60s in the 1980s, but you don't got to advertise like it's the case. But that's the thing. This is selling. It's making bank. And that's where the dodgeball stuff from the last topic go to. It's that indignation sells. Like, we don't have soap operas anymore, except for in Mexico. Mexico and Korea. Mexican soap operas, absolutely a lark. If you're bored, go get a haircut from like a Spanish barber, and then you sit there and watch the Mexican soap opera. It's fun times. Korea too. Middle East is actually kind of neat, but it's way goofier. So there's no soap operas anymore. And the Jerry Springer show, like, you're not allowed to laugh at stupid people anymore. So what do you got now? Now you got TikTok. And there's girls acting a damn fool on TikTok. It used to be big-titted cosplayers dancing and doing karaoke back when it was good. Back in my day, in 2018, TikTok was full of blue-looking chicks with their boobs hanging out. Now what is it? It's 25 to 45-year-old women bitching about everything. And girls love it. Oh, I love seeing her bitch about her life, because, yeah, I bitch about the same stuff. Or, my life's great. That bitch doesn't know what the fuck. Guys are watching that too. He's like, oh, yeah, fuck these women. Look at that. My ex-girlfriend did that same shit. Fuck that. And then that's where you get this defective women thing. They're starting to act like women. And I don't mean this as a pejorative. Women acting like women, great thing. I encourage more of it. Girls need indignation. What's the Chris Rock line? Food, water, and compliments, right? I would say a little bit of indignation. And if you doubt me on this one, get a girlfriend, have her move in. After 6 months, see if she doesn't pick a fight with you one day just to have fun, something to do. Just to see if she has something to do. Yeah, cheers, unicorn. Dude, there's some... No offense to you guys, there's some weird avies and names now. Like, I'm trying to get caught up with a lot of the new names, so... I guess this might be some new subscribers. Welcome to the channel. Hope you like it. I'm not going to shit on women for 2 hours. It's not my thing. I'm kind of past the anger phase, and I kind of want you guys to be too. So we're just going to learn the roadmap here, okay? Anyways, where was I going with this? Yeah, defective women. So it's one of those things, and I would strongly suggest you do this in your own life. Guys love to navel gaze. They love to break down society. Here's the one time you can do it, and you'll have, like, the Rhinestone Red Pill permission to do it and learn something from it. Just pay attention to every time you see a guy act like a horrible caricature of a woman. Same way that you see girls act as like horrible caricatures of men. That's my joke on this one, was that girls had this weird penis envy, and they were like, anything a man can do, a woman can do better. I can be just as good as a man. And they basically were told, fill your boots, man, go get it. And so what male archetype did women decide to fill to meet that goal? Drunken frat boy. You could have been anything. You could have been the middle-class suburban dad. You could have been the angsty artist. You could have been the bartender, charismatic guy. You could have been the pillar of industry. Girls got free reign to pick any male archetype, and they picked drunken frat boy. And I'm just like, guys didn't even like our drunken frat boy archetype. We knew it was a phase that guys got out of their system, but generally thought of it as like a necessary evil. And girls were like, that's the model. That's what I want. And it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? And you kind of like, oh yeah, that actually kind of makes sense. All these girls complaining about, men ain't shit and having fun and getting drunk and, ringing up 6-digit knot counts or whatever the hell they're doing now. It's like, yeah, that's kind of fitting. Now, remember, and I don't want to say there's an equivalence here, but a lot of guys have decided to fill a female archetype. And which one do they pick? They pick nagging bitch, which is like the absolute worst one you could fill. The women ain't shit. Suleiman the Magnificent, £2 super chat, thank you. Floral shirts are a big sign of male feminization. Well, thank God then, this one's a jungle shirt. Oh, I get it, you're making fun of my shirts. Well, I boot you from the channel. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, don't worry about that. My style is my style. I honestly like dressing as a juxtaposition. Sitting here swearing like a sailor wearing a pink shirt for some reason fills me with joy. Plus, I like color. Last thing I want to do is be a typical Toronto guy who's just dressed in brown, blue, black, and gray. So boring. We'll call it peacocking and move on from there, you know? If nagging bitch, wow. Yeah, Kitten Cloud X, thank you very much. Yeah, so, and I'm not going to focus on the girl side of things. I really don't care what women do. Women can do whatever they want. It's not my place to judge. I have no power to get them to change. And even if I did, would I even really want to? Which is kind of the next point. So put a pin in that one here. Leave the fancy man alone. What else do men do that's defective women? I'd say the indignation is the big thing. And that kind of, again, Fresh and Fit, Kevin Samuels, Joker, all those guys that are gigantic red-pilled trademark channels right now, know that. They're not bad people. They're good people. I've met a lot of them. They seem like perfectly nice people. Jack Murphy, he's talking about being Christian and trad now. It's the same thing right now. It's like, you can't really talk about being Christian and trad when you were passing your girlfriend around to people and then bragging about it on social media. But what do I know? Apparently you can pray away the gay now. What's that Milo Yiannopoulos thing? He grew a mullet and he found Jesus and now he's straight. Power to you, man. Brazilian telenovas are better. Thank you, Wando. €2 to set me straight. Okay, so check out the Brazilian ones. It's probably the same soap opera, but better booties. And I can live with that. Gossip? Yeah, well, I mean, gossip is caricature attack and displays of higher value. It's like a way of like sorting out the pecking order. In the same way that girls like to gossip, guys like to roughhouse. Does that make sense? It's just our way of like sorting out what's up. Anyways, so we're gonna take a bit of a break here. I'm gonna goof around in the chat for a couple minutes, and then we're gonna switch on to subject 2. Chad never knew how to Chad. DNO time. Thank you, Ryan. I like the content. I like you too, brother. Anyways, Ambert here. They think all women are cheating, worthless assholes. That's why they chose the archetype, because that's how they view men. But I mean, that's a projectionist perception thing. You got to be, and that's the other thing. You got to be careful when you say that, because I know I just said AWOLT about half an hour ago. All women are like that, to assume they're all like that. But at the same time, understand that women are not a monolithic entity. Yes, they follow the herd generally, but there's going to be demographics. Some girls will watch Netflix serial killer documentaries. Some girls will read the incel wiki. Some girls just want to watch fat girls dancing on TikTok so they can feel better about being, skinnier. There's different flavors. Different flavors. And granted, if you want to do all women are like that, it's fine. I wouldn't go bragging to that about women. It's like, yeah, you're like all the other girls. Like, why would you start that fight? Because it's dodgeball. But headshots don't knock you out of the game. Only shots to the body if they don't catch the ball. And, I hate to tell you this, but when it comes to indignation, when it comes to sexual dynamics, when it comes to posturing, social clout, guys may brag. Our brains are 10% bigger. We're smarter. We're better. And that is, put that aside whether that's true or not. That's not the point here. Girls have been in the sexual marketplace. I'm going to put it as timid as I can. They have been in the sexual marketplace since they were 13. My high school, grade 7. You'd be 12 years old. Had a friend of mine, Bonnie. We used to play, throwing hockey cards at each other, fighting, roughhousing, all that stuff. Next year, we go to our high school, grade 8. She's 9 months pregnant, has a baby. I was getting a Super Nintendo. So I don't care how smart you guys are. A girl, you could pick the dumbest girl ever. Doesn't know nothing. Brain sucks. Not logical, not rational, whatever. She will beat your ass with experience. By the time you're 20 or 18 and you get out on your own, the girl's already had half a career of sex behind her. There is nothing you can do. Nothing that shows you how clever you are that a girl has not seen before. And the more attractive the girl, the more likely it is you want to sleep with her, the more likely it is 17 dudes have already tried that stuff on her, and she maybe fell for it 4 times because, she's not as smart as you. But after the 16th time, she's like, yeah, I got it. I know this one. And that's part of why you get like this spinster issue. A lot of girls very bitter, very angry. And it's because like, yeah, it's as soon as you understand what red pill means for you as a man and what you need to do to accelerate your life and your dating and your love life and your relationships and that, a lot of it loses its luster. You realize it's like everything is very repetitive. People are generally the same. Nothing really changes, and it loses a lot of the mystery and the fun. Great example for this. Here's a nerd example you're gonna love. When you first start playing Minecraft, you don't know how anything is built. What the hell is this? You see a new block, it's wow, this is amazing. But then by the 16th year of making, Minecraft videos or whatever, you're just kind of going through the motions and you kind of lose interest in it. Same thing. And then, so I'll end on this, and then we're going to switch to the next topic. Bishop asks, so why does game work then? Game works because of kayfabe. Game works because of persuasion. And persuasion only works on people who want to be persuaded. And say what you will about all the negative stuff we've been talking about so far. Girls like men, and men like girls. Sexual deviance aside. And I don't mean deviate as pejoratively, I mean deviating from the 97% majority or whatever number you want to use. I hate how I have to preface this stuff now because I know some asshole's going to put a hit piece on it. See, it said deviant. Fuck that guy. And I'm like, no. Say what you will. If you were to take sexual identity and put it on a bell curve, 2 standard deviations on either side is boys liking girls, girls liking boys. Just deal with it. It's okay. Not everybody has to be your thing. But yeah, game is game and games are fun. I actually have a video. If you guys haven't watched it yet, it's probably my favorite video on my channel. It's also the hardest one I've had to keep up because WWE hated it. And they made a reference to wrestling. Like, wrestling isn't real. That's what most smart people tell you. Like, I'm a huge wrestling fan of like the 90s and that. Wrestling's not real. And it's like, I know it's not real, but what does real mean? Well, the Ultimate Warrior doesn't actually hate Hulk Hogan. I'm like, first off, do you hear yourself? You're talking about an Ultimate Warrior and a man named Hulk. And you're trying to tell me it's not real, like I don't know that. Like, he's not actually Sergeant Slaughter. The Iron Sheik isn't made out of iron. Hacksaw Jim Duggan really didn't just crack a 2x4 over Andre the Giant's head. That would have killed him. It's theater. It's vaudeville. It's kayfabe. It is a fiction that's presented as if it was real. And it allows me to escape into it. I don't care that the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan aren't actually angry at each other. I don't care it's not Clash of the Titans like Samson and Goliath or, what is his name? Hector and Achilles. Like, I don't care that it's that. But I'm willing to believe that because you guys are entertaining as hell. And then after this, I'm going to go fight my brother on the lawn. Game is the same way. Girls know when you walk up and say hi that you want to sleep with them. They know that. Somewhere in their heart of hearts, they know it. And a guy walking up to a girl just knows that she wants you to worship the ground she walks on, and that a lot of the times when she sleeps with you, it's for reasons other than she's horny and you're the hottest guy around. David Buss, great book, Why Women Have Sex. 800 Reasons Why Women Have Sex, of which I'm horny and you're hot is like reason 752. So yeah, kayfabe. It's a game. It's fun. We're lying to each other, but we know we're lying, and we already know the rules. It's kind of the problem, too, is that a lot of guys, because of the atomization, don't learn the rules because they haven't had girls trying to sleep with them since they were 13. So you get 10 years in, you get a girl with, like, I don't want to say notch count. Let's just say approaches. 1,000 approaches. Some stupid number like 500 even. Doesn't matter. She's got so much more experience than the guy that he's going to walk in. She's walking in expecting the game. Yeah, okay, we're in the NBA Finals. Let's do this. And she's sitting there. She's Scottie Pippen. She's Michael Jordan. She's Dennis Rodman. And then this guy walks out, comes out of nowhere, and he's like, all right, I got a basketball. He's dribbling it with 2 hands. He's doing free throws under the thing there. And she's like, what in the fuck? The Washington Capitals are a bullshit team. What the hell? She was expecting to have NBA Finals against the LA Lakers. And what does she get now? She gets like the 4-year-old Special Olympics Paralympic basketball team. No wonder why girls are mad. And no wonder why guys are mad. I'm trying my best. I'm bouncing the ball like I saw it on TV. You girls keep telling me you want to win games. Well, I play like shit and you won the game. Why is everybody miserable? It's like, of course everybody's miserable. Nobody knows what they're doing. Nobody knows how to be around people. And that's kind of the big reason I'm here. It's because, like, the material's out there on how to be better, but it's kind of everywhere, and you kind of have to take like an OCD interest in it. So I get it. It's difficult. A lot of people have busy lives. They're doing their thing. It's not my fault that everybody picks their own little goofy hobby they don't like to talk about. Mine just happened to be this bullshit space, but whatever. Stuff all out there. So what I try to do is condense it for you, collate it for you, sometimes put some more commentary on it in a way that resonates with the audience, and that's where we're at. Even my red meat. I disagree with the whammon, but this is why arguing with it is stupid. Or the TikTok one. Just some simple concepts. So then you can understand that. So the next time you get a girl, like what was that one TikTok girl saying? The love bombing and ghosting. He lied to me about our future. It's like, yeah, don't lie. But I mean, you don't have to lie. You're just filling her with wrestling. You're doing WrestleMania 7. You're not doing lie, cheat, scam, and steal. And basically, if a girl dumps you, she feels okay. And if you dump her, she's going to be pissed. Just be okay with being the bad guy, right? Moving on. What are we at now? 65. Chad who never knew how to Chad. This one is also important because a lot of guys then, okay, so let me get this straight. My dad's not home because mom divorced him, or he's working 16-hour days. No guys in my school. I basically have had no guys my entire childhood to teach me anything about being a successful man. So what do I do now? 18, 19, I move out on my own. What do I do? Well, I know. I'm going to go make friends with the most attractive guy I know. There was this guy in high school. He got all the girls. And guy from college, he got all the girls. And this and that. So those guys are what we would call naturals. And it's not... I know it sounds like a great position to be in, but it's not. Chads are awesome. But they're not awesome in that they have some knowledge you don't have. They're awesome in that they, through luck, a combination of luck, natural talent, experience, and opportunity, manage to get that requisite experience to kind of piece it together. Because we're very smart creatures. People in general, you put them in an environment, they'll figure their way out, barriers aside. So you were the guy who matured first. You got taller than all the other guys. Girls start hitting 13 and they start having like, oh, I like boys now. All those girls saw him. In the high school, he was the Pareto principle Chads, the 20% type, right? Again, only within that school. They're not competing with the 20% in something else or the 20% in something else. It's just in that specific social microcosm. There's a Pareto principle. And that 20% guy, since he was 13, like I remember this in my high school, there was a lot of guys that I wouldn't expect to be Chads, but it was always the same story. Some like high school senior, like some 18-year-old girl slept with them when they were like grade 8, 13, sometimes even younger, but I don't want to go down that road. And so they got sex, and to them it was no big deal. As soon as they started wanting to have sex, they started having sex. They're like, oh, that's great. That's how it works. They talked to people casually and easily. They found a lot of things worked. A lot of things that you wouldn't think would work. Like if you're unattractive, they don't work, but for him, they did. So it was just him being him. Nature was naturally abundant with sexual gratification. And so he's what I would call a natural. You'd call it a Chad. A lot of guys get mad. Why does he get to be the Chad and I don't? Just because I'm tech support from Southeast Asia and 5'6" with a horrible haircut and I dress with Kirkland signature outfits. Why can't I be as popular as that 6'2" captain of the volleyball team who's been sleeping with girls since he was 14 years old? Life isn't fair. I'm going to get on a rant and just yell at any woman online I can find. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Here's the issue with that. And I have seen this because if you guys don't know, I'm from a space called the married red pill. What's the married red pill? Well, it's like the game stuff. Guys are past it. We're in relationships now. Start running into problems, realizing that a lot of that stuff we learned back then is very applicable now. Solve our problems, move on with our life, ideally. Or start a YouTube channel and then rant about it online. Oh, look at this. Social skills are a prerequisite to status and money. Not everyone gets to be Elon Musk. Yeah, that's a good point. But here's the thing. Chad didn't know how he got to be Chad. Chad just eased into it, which is great. Sometimes that'll last you for 10 years. 10 years to be in the Chad. 20 years, 30 years. Maybe even if you're lucky, you do it a lifetime. You're Chad all the way into your 80s. Very few people are, though. What happens, and I've noticed this a lot, the two types of men in the married red pill I talk about, the has-beens and the never-weres. The Al Bundy was the has-been. He's like the 4 touchdowns in a single game. I was the best guy ever. Got the prom queen. Damn that dog. He doesn't even want in here. He just wants to know he could. So they get out of high school. They peak. They do college. They peak. They get a great job. They peak. Then they settle down with the girl. They've peaked. And they just slowly float away. Sometimes they start gaining weight. Sometimes they get sick. There's been a few guys, a bunch of you guys, if you've been following me on the various social media platforms, you've probably already seen me talking with them a lot too. Total chats. But something happens. All it takes is one car accident, one 15-month quarantine away from the goddamn gym, hypothetically speaking, Doug, or some event that's outside of your control, and then those natural talents you have are gone, at which point the guy has to rely on having good game. Now, if you were raised in a fictional world where everything you do is great and girls swoon over you, and now that goes away, you have no skills. My stepdad was actually a great example of this. He was total Chad, but once those skills weren't working for him anymore, he didn't have a solution to it. And you can't ask other guys, because guys would be like, fuck you. Fuck you, Chad. The girls, when a guy's down, love to kick a guy when he's down because they need a guy. They need a guy. They don't want a guy, in general, at least from that era. And so the only response he has is outrage, anger, rage. Life isn't the way I expected it to be. There's a social grievance and people are making it happen, so they get angry. And there's no solution for them. So that's how Chads can end up falling harder than anybody. But they don't know. The guy who does know is the guy who was like the ugly duckling. He was the nerd in high school. He was the nerd in college. They got the job, and the only girls that wanted him were ones with like 3 kids by 3 different dads and wanted to settle down. Like, that's an extreme example, but you get the point. So he had to basically claw his way up to any level of success he got. And this is going to be self-aggrandizing, I get it, but that's kind of where I put myself. Like, I was the nerd in high school, nerd in college. I could have been way better off than I was in college, but I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have game. I could have had game. I was outgoing, I was social, I was athletic. All the tools were there, but I didn't have game. And then the workplace, it was just kind of like, yeah. And then I joined the military, and that's the problem. 189 days a year I'm sailing. I basically didn't have time to meet girls. And so I had found mystery. Some guy in a top hat is like, yeah, I can do it. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll give it a shot. Why not? I only have 3 months out of the year to actually talk to girls, so I might as well make it count for a year's worth of game, right? And sure enough, it worked great. And I was like, oh, wow. And I could have been mad about it, going, man, I've wasted 20 years of life. I think I was 23 when I started it. I could have wasted, however many years. I could have done this before, but it's like, I'm just going to enjoy where I'm at now. And that's how we get there. So I think that's a better position to be in Chads, but Chads are smart too, right? So don't count them down. Those same Chads do this exact same thing that the Beta Bucks guys do that have no idea how to run game and eventually out of pure desperation type, why can't I get laid in the internet? And then some married red pill post of a guy who sounds just like them complaining about his life and showing how he get out of it. And that's how people tend to come in. But, and the one advantage the Chad has, the Chad who never knew how to be Chad, is they start seeing all this stuff. And a guy will make this weird, convoluted field report on AWOLT. All women are like that. And it's like, yeah, it's 80% of this stuff. I already know this. How do you guys not know this? Are you a bunch of nerds? But then there'll be some insight in there you didn't know. Oh, AWOL. So it's not actually all women are bad, even though I thought all women were bad sluts, whatever. And, just have some fun with them and pump and dump, whatever. And then he understands, oh, so it's not so much whether it was true, it's that as long as I believed it, I acted better. And then the idea of abundance. Oh, so as long as girls know you can replace them, so that's why. I always treated girls as replaceable, and I used to have consult calls about this all the time. A lot of, former pickup guys who as soon as they got a girlfriend, ditched all they learned, or a couple Chads who were on top of the world and then finding it wasn't working. It's always the same story. I call it the Madonna horror complex. Well, I don't call it. James Franco, David Clare, or Franco and David Clare call it the Madonna horror complex. Catholic guilt, whatever you want to subscribe to it. Anyways, but that was the point. It's once I got with this girl, I had to stop treating girls like that and treat her better. And they pedestalized the girl, and in a sense, they lost the parts that made her attractive, or what made her attracted to him. And so they start seeing all these nerds talking about this stuff, and they're like, yeah, this makes sense. This does make sense, but you got it wrong. Try this. And then you got a bunch of chads who are like adding to the body of work too. So you got guys from the top and the bottom all telling the middle how things worked from either side of things. And then you have this great body of work. Granted, OCD, and it may not be true, but it's goddamn useful. So Chad never knew how to Chad, but Chad knows what Chad life is like. He doesn't think it's some kind of LARPing fantasy to be 40 years old dating a 22-year-old. He's like, no, I did that. That's pretty easy to do, actually. Chad may not have known how to keep a girl for longer than 6 months, but, the guy who's had a 10-year relationship and learned how to turn it around can teach that a Chad or thing or two about that. Yeah, that 23-year-old, I can show you why at the 6-month mark she probably leaves you. And here's the 15 different reasons that it's happened over the years to 17 different guys. And he's like, that one kind of makes sense. That one kind of makes sense. And last week she did that shit. Makes perfect sense. But you see what I mean? And you guys aren't going to like this because I'm going to not disagree with every content creator, but just disagree with those who aren't. How does Rolo call it? He calls this like the highbrow version of red pill, whatever the fuck that means. I think he's doing it tongue in cheek, but genuine desire is a marketing term. Marketing term. It has zero meaning whatsoever. When you hear genuine desire, in your head, you fill in the blanks. I call that a container word. I actually have a post on it on my blog. Go check it out if you want to. A container word, and I use the story of a box. You take a box, you write something on it, right? Masculine. And then you fill the box with all kinds of different shit. You fill it with your feelings. Yeah, Ford truck, truck nuts, Miller Lite masculinity, this, that, and the other thing. Put tape on the box, right? Man. And then you throw it at somebody's feet, and you tell them, man. And then you basically shame and berate the guy if his box isn't exactly like yours, even though he has no idea what's in your box. And his box is full of other different shit. And I think that's done on purpose as an unconscious manipulation technique. Because if you don't ascribe to the contents of my box, your box doesn't count. And if you treat me as the source of validation for your identity, then yeah, you're going to start taking shit out of your box and putting my shit into your box. To the point where your box, I tell you what's in your box. You don't say what's in your box. A lot of words do that. So what is genuine desire? Like, could anybody even describe it? You always get some kind of wishy-washy emotional thing. I'll tell you what most people see it as. They see genuine desire as a guy acting like a defective woman. As, I have an intrinsic worth, and she likes that intrinsic worth so much that she just has to fuck me because, god damn it, I'm fucking awesome. I keep referencing Bus's work, but yeah, out of the 800 reasons that girls will sleep with a man, I'm horny and you're hot, and there's no reason other than I really need to have you inside me is like reason 753. So there's no such thing as genuine desire. Anybody who's been in a relationship long enough will know. All right, Chomsky, you can come join. We'll know that moment where the girl is tired, but she probably hasn't slept with you in a while, so she kind of throws out a freebie, just something to get you off, phoning it in. Maybe it's a starfish. Maybe it's just like a blowjob or a Shark Week, whatever reason. It's not because they don't have genuine desire for you. They absolutely do. They're not enthused about it, but they know they like to keep you happy, and making you happy makes them happy. So yeah, genuine desire isn't a thing. It doesn't exist. But it'll sell you a Chevy Cheyenne or a Dodge 3500, Genuine desire is what I feel for that shirt. You're absolutely adorable. The title of the David Buss book is Why Women Want Sex. Actually, here, I'll put a link for it in here. Just so you know, it's not a fun read. It's a longer slog of a read. But it's worth it. Or Why Women Have Sex. Here you go. Here's the Canadian one. The girls he is getting are mostly garbage. Who? This is the Chomsky show? Yeah. Chomsky decided he wants to sit on my lap. Yeah, container box words sound like the Bible. Some words have different meaning for every person. Exactly. And so what's the point of using them? If you guys can't even talk from a base level of communication, what's the fucking point? You know what I mean? But that's the point of it. I'm going to use language that allows, and this is like womanese. This is going to tap back to men acting like defective women once we start using that language. Womanese is using the correct combination of words, tone, and body language to achieve a certain result. Now, if the words are true, that's great, but it's not required. If that's true, it's not required. So back to the topic. Where did I put it? There we go. Chad never knew how to Chad, and Chad can be susceptible to this kind of stuff, these container words. And this is where you get that shaming. A real man would do shit. There's always some 28 to 32-year-old woman who's got baby rabies who's like, a real man would, and then she inserts all the shit she wants. A real man would knock me up, stay loyal, make a good paycheck, allow me to stay at home, be a stay-at-home mom, and like all these different hoops and shit right that, right? So her box of masculinity is full of like everything that's good for her. And she dumps it at your feet and says, you're not a man unless you do all this shit. And then if a guy has no strong sense of self, Chad doesn't because he didn't really have to think about it. Most guys don't because they just wanted validation. And they'll treat the girl as the arbiter. Judge box. Everything about the box she gets to be the judge on. And they, yeah. They let her decide what's in the box. And then heaven forbid, and this is another thing, and this is probably going to be not the most fun thing to hear, but girls don't know what the fuck they want. They know what they want right now, but they don't know what they want in the future. I'd argue that life is a giant marshmallow test of which women will never wait for the second marshmallow. Writ large. Yes, I know there's some woman out there who's very good at long-term planning. This ain't about you. If some guy finds you, they're going to be pretty certain that you're going to show them every reason to disregard my advice. It's not my job to convince them you're not. It's your job. Red Canada. Nice. Carrying on. Don't know what makes them happy. What does Rolo say? And it's such like a 90s reference, but whatever, I like it. The Cancun foam party. Girls want to have the hot sex with the dude in the back of the bathroom, the Cancun foam party, and everybody's like, I would never have a Cancun. Like, it's not the point. It's a metaphor. It just means the having fun, the hoe phase. They call it the hoe phase. I didn't name it that. Who did? Women. It's not my fault. It's your thing. It's your box. I'm just reading off the label. Here, dude, you gotta step. Don't step on my damn headset. Thank you. What a suck. Oh, look at this. You guys are teaching me all kinds of names I've never heard of. I will say this too. So if you guys want to know who's like good red-pilled content and not, I would argue asking the Rule Zero guys. Like asking Rolo, asking myself, asking Rule Zero Dad. I'd say it's a pretty good indication because we've kind of been fucking around in this space since, I mean, Rolo since the early 2000s, me from like the 2010s, Rich as well. If we've never heard of a guy, chances are he's kind of bullshit. Now, I may be wrong, but that's my default position. If I don't know anybody who knows somebody, then right there kind of leads me to be suspicious. And if they know certain people, I already am kind of suspicious. So I don't know who Austin Dunham is. But yeah, let's just say I've been hurt before. I've been hurt before by guys who promise the world and don't deliver. So Cold Steel, thank you, US $10. What do you think of a man making a blunt, direct, and upfront proposition about what kind of relationship he wants? Also, about making the woman participate for the long term. Well, let me answer your question with a question. How would you feel going to see WrestleMania 7, then having Hulk Hogan get up on the stage before they start wrestling and saying, at the end of this, I'm going to lose to the Ultimate Warrior, but it's going to be damn entertaining. And then you sit down for the next 20 minutes and watch that match. Are you going to have as much fun with that as you did watching Hulk Hogan, Americana, and the Ultimate Warrior, 80s cool, coming together and not knowing who's going to win? Like, I don't know why guys have this need to be direct. I think it's a way of offloading their aversion to rejection onto the girl. I'll tell you exactly what kind of relationship I want. To which the girl will respond, if she likes you, she'll agree with everything you say. Because it doesn't matter. If I say yes, he will be my boyfriend. So I will say yes. Never mind, I don't care about any of that shit. I'll fix that later. That's a tomorrow problem. Today, Cindy really wants to get with Cold Steel. Yeah, don't open your mouth. Here, I'll tell you this. You want to know what kind of relationship you want? Act like you want in that relationship. Act like it. Because I will tell you right now, 99.100% of men who talk about what they want talk about what they are, talk about their types of relationships. 100% of the time, 99.100% of the time, do not act as if that is true. And like I said before, girls have been approached by guys and fed all bullshit since they were 13. They've seen it before and they'll see it again. And they know the one thing I can take as sacrosanct in my, female life is that you're fucking lying. And if you're not lying, I could probably bully you into my way of things if it doesn't match up with what I want. So yeah, don't talk. Shut the fuck up. That's like, there's very few hard and fast rules within the red pill, and shut the fuck up if you don't know anything better is a great one. Act like it. If you want a certain kind of relationship, act like it. Act like it congruently. Everybody talks about being authentic. Fuck authenticity. You know what you want? Sincerity. Sincerity and congruence. Authenticity is a way of pretending. A little digression here. This is my Mad Men analogy. Again, Authenticity Revisited. It's on the blog. Go and check it out. The idea of, like, Don Draper, big during the Mad Men thing. Everybody's like, I want to be Don Draper. I want to sleep with everybody. I want to get the good account. They forget that the story was about a guy named Dick Whitman. Dick Whitman was basically an incel. And then Don Draper died in Korea and he took his identity and became Don Draper. But in that show, every time somebody said, you're not Don Draper, he'd cry like a bitch. So I'm like, yeah, authenticity is when you tell people you're Don Draper and you're very convincing. But you crack every time somebody decides that you're no longer Don Draper. Instead, be John Hamm. That's the actor that played Don Draper. You look at John Hamm and you're like, you're not Don Draper. He'll look at you like he got 3 fucking heads. He's like, yeah, I'm an actor and that's a role and you liked it. Now get out of my house before I call the cops. See what I mean? You trying to be Don Draper is you saying what kind of relationship you have. If you're actually able to act like the guy in the relationship you want to have, and this is a very simple concept. So Red Pill 1 is referred to as reward good behavior, don't reward bad behavior. And this is going to tie into the last topic here. Most men are meant to fail hard. And you're going to hate this one because I'm going to shit on men for like the next 30 minutes. But most guys deserved it. John Hamm waited tables in LA for like 15 years. I'm sure he did. But hey, he's successful now. Dumped his wife, got a younger model. That's the female terrified fear. That's the equivalent of a guy getting cucked. For a girl, is a guy becoming successful and she bet on the right guy and he won the lottery and then he's like, yeah, I'll trade you in for a 20-year-old. Yeah. So don't be obvious. Don't be direct. Just act like it. And if you can't act like it... Oh, here's John. Hey, John, see you in the chat. Today I listened to Real American by Rick Derringer. Nice. One of the best theme songs out there. It's no Bret Hart theme, but it's good. So Anglers is asking about explaining frame. Honestly, it would be a whole other topic. The best way I can kind of give you like a quick primer on it is if you think about building a house, and you know how you build a frame, right? You frame your house and then you build it. The house will only ever look like the frame. Like you can't have a frame of a small 1,000 square foot like rancher home and then expect to make a skyscraper out of it. You just can't. So frame isn't something you do. Frame is who you are. And when I use the word frame, think about how you frame things. I'm sure you guys have heard that saying, life is 10% of what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And everybody thinks having frame is stoicism. It's like, no, it's not stoicism. Having frame is not getting angry. It's like, no, having frame does not mean you don't get angry. Well, having frame is being it's not that either. And say what you will. One of the best, like Corey Worthington, when Rollo calls him Alpha Buddha, I would say that's frame, but it's not the best example in hindsight. I honestly use turd flinging monkey. It's an extreme example, but it gets the point across. Consider this. Who is he? If you guys don't know, he's a MGTOW guy. I think he's MGTOW anyway. He's got a real doll, one of those like $10,000 doll, like 150-pound dolls made out of like industrial grade silicone and steel beams and shit like that. Has an Instagram page for her, calls her Celestina. Has birthday parties, essentially treats her as a surrogate human being. And he's decided to go his own way. He does not sleep with women. He rants and raves. And he was on the Red Man group once, which was our old podcast before Rule 0. Weird guy. I find him somewhat interesting, though. Whatever. I'll say this. He makes no apologies for it. That's his life. And he's expecting that people won't like it and they'll make fun of him. He just says anonymous because he knows if people were to find out his real identity, his life would be over, obviously, because he does some very unattractive stuff. But that's his reality. He's like, look, this is my life, take it or leave it. And anything outside of his life that he's built for himself is either amusing, intriguing, or funny. It's a good example of frame. And that's just it. So, for example, if I had, you get some feminist on here ranting about how men ain't shit, am I going to get angry and start yelling back like a 6-year-old soccer game? Probably not. Probably not. Because it's like, I don't really care about the feminism MRA battle that's been going on since the early 70s. It's like, you guys have been fighting for 50 years and haven't solved anything. Like, this is outside of my interest. And then people are always like, well, if they yell at you enough, you're eventually going to whittle down your... It's like, frame isn't something you have, it's who you are. Now, that's not doing it justice. I would argue it's probably the final frontier on, like, cerebral, like, red-pilled content, is to be able to articulate it in a way that's sufficiently adequate for what it does. But I will say this. It may be the hardest concept to explain. It's the easiest one to understand. And the only way I can say that is at some point in every guy's male action plan or map, stolen from Athel K, is once you get frame, everything clicks. And everybody just kind of knows it. And it's very easy to see. And that's why, and this is going to tie into the next one, why most men are meant to fail hard. The inspiration for this video was from Why More Please, one of the guys who's been around longer than me in the red-pilled space. He's red-pilled as fuck. You guys would love him. He might even be in chat here if you see him. He'll have what looks like a red pill with a wedding ring on it as his avi. Probably not, though. Well, frame doesn't mean not compromising the direction of your life and choices either, because, again, if you see the need to compromise them, it's called a tactical retreat. You want to be the alpha as alpha ever? Well, you can't alpha the state. Walking in and trying to AMOG the fucking judge during your court hearing? Probably not a good idea. Acting like the big, tall, confident alpha Chad when your wife's divorcing you and she's getting mad that you're replacing her with a younger girl? Not good. Sometimes, acting like a complete, simpish, beta, weak and broken man is a good thing. In that case, for the courts. Keeps the girl from going feral, keeps her from trying to do some shit and waste all your money on like lawyers' fees. But that's in your frame. I don't care what she thinks of me. I don't care if I'm not a tough guy. I had that old example of Tom Hardy where he says, yeah, I'm an A-list actor in Hollywood. Of course I've sucked dick before. Somebody asking if he was gay or straight or whatever. And that's kind of where I describe it. It's like, how bad do you want it? That was within his frame. He's not gay, but he's also going to star in Mad Max. So if he has to suck a dick, he's sucking a dick. But that's what I said. It's really hard because every time you explain it, there's 17 exceptions to every rule. So the last topic here. Most men are meant to fail, and they fail hard. That's fine. So he has this post called Men with No Frame and the Things They Do, and I love this one. It's basically, after like 4 years, he wrote this 3 years ago, by the way, and by then it was like 4 years in, and he's noticing guys without frame all do the same thing. And he asked the question, how can you quickly tell when a man has no frame? Well, no sense of his personal reality, because instead of being dismissive of anything that doesn't match it, he feels the need to try and peacock and dick measure. And that was a great example. And again, this is why the 6-year-old boys versus girls dodgeball game is bullshit. Because from guys, from a psychological perspective, you guys have heard something called borderline personality disorder. The best way I can describe it is as a polar opposite version of narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissism is like you exist as a one-man play, and everything else around you is a set piece or a character actor in service of this. The NPD person is where they just take it to like third standard deviation of pathological. So it's like, take masculinity, amp it up to 12. Oh dear, it's not very good. Borderline is the female version of that. Think of her as the actress in that one-man play. She wants to fill the role. She wants to act the way she does to make the authority in their life feel good. Normal, healthy things, you would call that just being like a submissive girl. She's really into her man. They're a great power couple, whatever. Take it to a pathological level, and you get shit like the 6-year-old dodgeball game. And again, he feels the need to try and peacock and dicks measure. So you get some girls saying, men ain't shit, let me see your sources, your scientific study is garbage. What does the guy do right there? If a guy has frame, he doesn't care. If the girl shits on him and he doesn't have frame, he has to start peacocking and dick measuring and automatically call her like a bitch or something like that, or shit on her, dismiss her. And if you want to see an example for this, go to my latest Red Pill Coffee video. Read through the chat. What do we have there? We have a girl that I think is objectively wrong. Not just wrong, but wronger than wrong. She's arguing it from a completely different place that any guy who's listening to this stuff actually wants to learn from. So what's my response to it? She's going to do what she does. Maybe this place isn't for you. You go read through the chat, make fun of her hair. And I've tried to like clean it up because I don't want to break any Twitter terms of service. Don't get me wrong. Make fun of her hair. I don't like the British accent. The most minute dismissal, peacocking, dick measuring ways ever. And right there is a great example. And this is why I'm very, no offense to you guys. I love you guys as an audience. You're great. But it's a very love-hate relationship. Like, I am under no illusions that 80% of you guys in the audience aren't there yet. Maybe you want to be. Maybe you're trying. But you're not there yet. And that's fine. You're in this space, you gotta expect it. If everybody knew what they were doing, I wouldn't have to do these videos and I could just stream Minecraft all fucking day, you know? But I'm not, so here we are. And the example he uses, though, it's funny, where he talks about the original poster, it's hard as hell to project positivity. And then Wine Replays is like, well, because you don't project it, you stupid bitch. You learn how to embrace positivity and enjoy life for what it is. Otherwise, it's all horse shit, and all you're doing is pretending to be a clown. Here's a hint. Clowns aren't actually happy. By the way, everybody within the married red pill and the blue pill knows that this is a quote. Knows that you autistic fucks are gonna fail and fuck it up. It's on you not to be an autistic fuck and not fuck it up, which you're obviously going to do anyway, so what's the point of this warning in the first place? Fair assessment. 80% of men are going to fail and fail hard. So yeah, if you put any expectations on guys in this space, you're in for a world of hurt, and that's a covert contract waiting to happen if you really want to know. Well, Rob, what can I say? I'm an optimist. He's saying go higher on the percentage. What can I say? I'm a big fucking softie. And I think 20% of you guys are switched on. It's up to you. Sort it out amongst yourselves who's the 20%. And then Op just comes back with a, well, maybe you're warning yourself. It's cute how you guys say you autistics. And he's like, this guy is completely missing the point and just taking the bait. You jar a guy's butt hurt and they're blinded to anything else. It's so easy. It's like some random dick on the internet can trigger you to make a wannabe AMOG over some stupid bullshit. Imagine how much more effective people are who are emotionally invested in you are going to be at triggering you. Again, if some asshole on the internet is able to get you in a frothing rage, if some feminist chick online is able to get you saying whammon ain't shit and fuck feminism, then what chance do you have over somebody who's a girlfriend who maybe wants to move in, poking you when she's in a pissed off mood and wants to tap on your red flags? Probably none, because you have no frame. But that's the point. He's completely missing the idea. And that's what I love. And this is why I hate the idea of tone policing. That's another reason why girls kind of don't belong here. So if you start talking, he calls, what does he do? He calls the guy here an autistic fuck, an autistic clown. And to which a girl would naturally say, I don't like your tone. You should really change your language. That's abhorrent. You shouldn't say that. You shouldn't make fun of people with autism. Again, completely missing the point. Guys tone down that language. What happens? A guy will live in his fantasy world where he's awesome, even though he's objectively LARPing as being happy. He's not happy, and he'll blow up eventually when that little fantasy goes away. But here, guys need to learn how to separate tone from content. Now, One More Please was hard on me when I first got here, too. I think he called me a bundle of sticks. I'll leave it at that. He called me extremely happy with a capital G. But I understood the point of it, right? I've been through basic training. I understand separate tone from content. But what he's saying here is telling this guy, you can't project happiness. You be happy because you take a look at everything around you and you decide to reframe it in a way that makes you happy. If something doesn't make you happy, you shed it from your life. If it does make you happy, you keep it around. But the guy was so focused on that ego hit, that jarred up frustration, that just by calling him a clown, an autistic clown, he completely missed the point. And that's what guys with no frame do. So remember, it's not just about not taking the bait when somebody picks a fight at you. It's truly understanding that it doesn't matter. It doesn't fit in your reality. And I hate to say it, I could tell you guys this 500 times every day. I could put a giant set of jugs behind me of like the most attractive girl ever that just absolutely loves YouTube comment section boys, and I'll hold a raffle to see which one of you guys gets to live with her for 6 months. And most of you will still do it. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. But I'm a Sigma male. Sigma male is a thing, but in the way it's been bastardized, I refuse to even talk about it anymore. Because it's just, the waters are too muddy. But yeah, that's what he says. Like, that's the thing. You learn how to embrace positivity and enjoy life for what it is. And that's a hard skill set. It takes huge amounts of effort. You have to change your mental models. And I talk about this all the time, so I might as well define it. What is a mental model? It's not a box. It's a specific thing. It's that human beings are generally narrative-driven creatures. It's a concept, for the most part, I've borrowed from Venkatesh Rao and his works. If you want to look into it more, he's got a great book, Tempo, Be Slightly Evil, and the Gervais Principle. Tempo was definitely the big one on it, though. But in the same way that, like, Paleolithic men used to tell stories to each other, in the same way that the Bible is full of, like, stories of Christians doing Christian things to teach you how to have values, people think in stories. So you have a narrative. What would Jesus do is a mental model. And that's a narrative model of the world that you anchor to when you're making decisions. So when you think, what would Jesus do? Well, somebody slaps you, what do? You turn the other cheek. When somebody looks behind them in Sodom and Gomorrah, what do? Well, you turn them to salt. If somebody's working on the Sabbath, what do? You stone them to death. What would Jesus do? He'd stone them to death. What would Jesus do? Well, he'd feed the poor. Well, what would Jesus do? Well, he'd go to church, but he wouldn't brag about it. See what I mean, though? All these models are based on a collection of stories, and then every week people get in front of the pastor and he tells them all these stories again, and then they use that and they internalize it and then they go home. And that's kind of how we develop this stuff. But that's the problem. Rollo calls it the feminine imperative. I really don't care what the name is. Just know right now, or the Disney fantasy is the other term people throw out, is that most men have really shitty sets of mental models. And the argument is always over whether the mental models are true or not. And then people can argue infinitely about it, which doesn't really matter. Who cares if it's true? Like, if I was sitting here preaching from the Red Pill Mound and I say the moon is made out of cheese, and by you guys knowing the moon is made out of cheese, you will go work out 3 times a day, you'll clean up your diet, you'll stop drinking every weekend, you'll look great in shape, you'll get in great shape. Is it true? Is the moon made out of cheese? I don't fucking care. But that model in your head got you to work out, so therefore, that is a red-pilled mental model. And that's why I told you in that last video, don't take this stuff literally, but take it seriously. And that's why you'll see most detractors take it literally, but they don't take it seriously. AWalt, well, I know a girl that's not like that, therefore you guys are idiots. It's like, what did he say? Are you fucking clown? Like, way to focus on the content. Anyways, ignore tone, focus on content. Yeah, can of smashed assholes. Actually, you know what? That's going to be my go-to example now. If you guys don't see, go to the community tab here. There's a post. There is this goofy pickup artist. I had never heard of him before. His name's John Anthony. I guess he threw out, he did the same thing that the Emma girl did. Just react to Rich Cooper or something. Reacted to like a Rich Rollo video and a me video. Like basically, Rollo's a fraud. Rich is an asshole and bald. My wife is ugly. I'm awesome. Sign up for my pickup course. And I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then John's like, I got it. And so John goes and does this little 6-year-old, dodgeball game. This guy's an idiot. He's an alcoholic. Here's some photos of him drunk. All he does is sleep with hookers, and he lives in Brazil. And I'm just like, well, I didn't know who he was now, and I definitely am glad I didn't. But it was the funniest thing. So eventually I figured out how YouTube has a mentions function. So anybody who gives an @ with your name on it, if they're past a threshold, so for me it has to have a certain subscriber count, it just can't be anybody. And then he has like a, look who's the can of smashed assholes now, and there was a picture of him in shape, and I just started laughing. Like, remember? This is what people with no frame do. Rich calls the guy a smashed can of assholes. So what does the guy do? He works out like a madman for 6 months. He takes TRT, he starts eating right, he stops drinking. I don't know if he stopped dealing with hookers, but I think you can still do that and lose weight, so whatever. He gets into great shape, and he posts a picture on the internet saying, fuck you guys, smash this can of assholes. To which I'm thinking, we just told the guy the moon was made out of cheese. Proper. Great example too. He says here, Emma looks like Satan to the max. People with no frame and what they do. She was basically saying she didn't agree with the tone of Rich's video. She was saying she doesn't like the idea of the stuff. She's reading the incel wiki. She thinks the guys are bastardizing science. And she thinks things apply. She has a blank slate equalism idea. 4 ideas that I fundamentally disagree with. I don't care if they're true, but by believing them, it makes our life arguably worse. So from a practical perspective, disregard it. But then 800 comments like that. She looks like Satan to the max. I don't give a shit. She's a perfectly normal person, but I don't know her. I don't have a strong opinion of her, and I shouldn't, because I don't know her. I don't love all women, but I don't hate all women either. In fact, strangers I get to be polite and mildly indifferent to. And that's honestly, that's a frame thing. She could say the most hurtful things ever, and I'm not going to spurg out and call her like names. Like, what's the point? But that's the same. Oh, wow, 300 Villiers. Well, thanks. Hit like, hit subscribe if you like what you see here, right? But here's the point. People with no frame in the things they do. And if you can't handle some online person that you don't know of, talking all kinds of shit about you, saying all kinds of things you disagree with, without immediately going to that jar of resentment, then there's work to be done. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. And that's why every time I do any red meat videos, I kind of hold my nose, because I know from a marketing perspective, if I don't put truck nuts on that Chevy 3500, and that Dodge Ram 3500 1-ton, if I don't put truck nuts on it with an American flag and a gun rack, then I just know nobody's going to watch. So I throw those out as few as I have to bring guys here, of which I know, like I said before, 80% of you guys are going to fail, and you're going to fail hard, which I'm not even resenting you for it. That's fine. Right now, thank you for your subscribership. Thank you for your views. Thank you for your time and attention. Again, I do treat that with some reverence. You are subsidizing the 20% of guys in here that give a damn. You really are. And so pat yourself on the back. And think of this to yourself. If you're one of those guys that know you're in that 80%, just know I may be a fuck up, but I don't have to be a fuck up forever, and I can fix it. But that 20% of guys today that made something of themselves, a small part of that was because I sat here and liked this asshole's fucking YouTube videos. So again, even the saddest sack case, even the smash can of assholes himself can have value to it. So I liked having an optimistic attitude towards this. Emma is the entropy for my circus, and I love her. That's actually pretty funny. Yeah. Do more red meat for the money and views, bro. I don't know, we'll see. I might eventually just buckle under pressure and you know what? I want to buy myself a new Lambo, so here, fuck whamming. Fuck whamming the series. Sure. Yeah. And so back to this one. Weimer Please has a great thing. He talks, I talk in a way that if a man focuses on insults and gets butthurt, then he knows if the guy is worth his time or not. This is me, some random cunt over text that they'll never ever interact with in real life. And if you can get an emotional reaction out of somebody like that, you have power over that person. Another part of frame is not giving power to people unless you want to or have to. Like if you're in a cop, if a cop pulls you over, arguably you're giving power to him. But Athol K talks about that in, was it Married Man's Sex Life Primer? I think so. Where he talks about the formalization of social relationships. So for example, there is 2 terms, military terms we talked about during our leadership qualification, hard power and soft power. Hard power is a do it or else thing. A cop tells you to get out of the car, hand you your ID, you're obliged to do it because he has the backing of all kinds of force to force you to do it if you don't want to. That's hard power. Soft power is more persuasive. Soft power is even if a guy is if he's not detained and he can walk away at any time, the cop still keeps him there. That's soft power. The military, yeah, you can just do orders, but more often than not, all you're going to get is begrudging only, and that's not useful for you because that's putting everything on your back. A lot of your subordinates are smart, they're switched on, even the dumb ones can make some moments and maybe they need to learn. So use soft power and it encourages people to do better, right? So you have your soft power and you got your hard power. But you understand sometimes giving your power to somebody else in a less formal situation, like formal ones are formal. The judge expects decorum in his thing, or he has like objective things he can use on there. Sometimes you understand with this concept of power that you can give it up and it's okay. That's a trust thing. If you're working for somebody and he's awesome, he's got a vision, he's directed, he goes to the future, you can give him that bit of power, soft power. You can take it because I trust you and we're going to be successful together. That's a camaraderie thing. Girls can feel like that if she's with her hypergamous best option. This guy is awesome. I'm a ride or die bitch. It's totally in my best interest to let him run the show or be the final say of things, the value. A lot of girls have problems with that, by the way. I think the biggest issue you'll see with a lot of girls is that they had to they find out their man earns more than them, or they find out their man is can take it or leave it, and so she can't really change him. It's like a stallion can't be tamed, but he's always got her best interest at heart, and so it works out well. That's a polarity thing, right? Viking Paradigm. Ryan Stone needs more fans. MLD 2020. Yeah. But I'll end his thing on this. We got another 10 minutes, and we're going to spend the last couple minutes kind of fucking around with each other here, checking out the chat. Thank you very much for the super chats, by the way. I didn't say anything on yours, Dante, but I will. He says, paying my fee late. Thank you for the 50 Filipino pesos. Thanks for paying my fee late, man. And this is how he ends it. So you have the power to pick and choose what you actually waste your time and energy giving a shit about. Don't let some anonymous dickhead or your dear precious wife dictate what to care about by baiting you with some stupid bullshit. Decide and focus only on the things that matter. Now for me, what's the potential value of each and every interaction? For you, it might be different, but at least decide. And right there, I'd say that's out of all the little bait that married red pill guys or red pill guys in general have offered in order to give a guy an inkling of what frame is, I think this is one of my favorites. Separate tone from content. Look at your engagements as if they're value additions. Why would he do this thing? What's in it for me? That's what I always say. What's in it for me? It sounds super selfish and greedy, and it absolutely is, but that's not a bad thing. Yeah. Girl does hit piece. Makes fun of the red pill guys. Girl does a live stream, reacting to the guys doing the live stream. What's in it for me? Well, from a creator perspective, I can do a video on the one girl, disagree with the points, not even get angry about it, and you guys, a lot of guys, will get mad. Well, fuck that chick, she's the devil incarnate. Giving me views, increasing my reach, increasing the 20% of guys that I have that are worth a damn. Awesome. That's what's in it for me. And that's usually, if you're going to see me argue or debate somebody online, that's primarily the purpose. Entertainment. I'm going to entertain you, take more of your attention, which helps me pay bills, and then in return, I'm going to provide value as best I can. Either entertainment, information, preferably both. That's why I put as much effort as I do into editing my videos and not just sitting here in my den ranting about whatever. I think it's lazy. I like to do better than that. I don't mind many things. The opinion of people doesn't matter, but I would hate to be that guy that everybody is agreed that that guy's a piece of shit. It's lazy. I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to be that guy. Ryan, would you say Hitchens was a good example of having frame? I think Hitchens was a great example of having frame. Great example. But that's the problem. I don't want to start using Michael Jordan posters on your wall, some kind of hero that you can worship and I'm going to be like Mike, because that kind of defeats the point. Have your own frame, right? I want to make Ryan Stone videos in Hindi for India with some more masala, and the incels in my country will get more subs than you. Oh, I'm sure they will. Saranekuta. If I remember, that was Punjab for calling somebody a son of a goat or something like that. My Punjab isn't as good as it used to be. Yeah. But I'm glad. Anyways, enjoy you guys. The military salute is a good example of frame. How is the military salute a good example of frame? Because technically you're following procedure. I know it doesn't seem like it's very there, but anyways, whatever. Then Ambert, Johannes, they are lazy, sloppy creators who have more content views than you, crazy. And that's fine. Dude, YouTube's adpocalypses have really discouraged high quality content people. That's why a whole bunch of creators went and did that, what's that, Curiosity stream and the Nova network or whatever. They're making their own platforms because YouTube doesn't pay as well as it used to. And that's fine, whatever. I'm patient. Like right now, I'm not doing bad. Retired after my time in the military. I don't need millions of dollars. I don't need a Lamborghini. All my stuff's paid off. My condo's accidentally going to make me a millionaire. I'm perfectly fine doing this slow. But the one thing I do love, and this is why when you're like a lot of guys, that's like the meme right now, is how do you only have this many subscribers? I don't really care. Because every time a new guy comes here, every one of my videos is relevant. There's no topical shit. Well, I think there's like 3, but they don't get views anyway. Like you'll be able to go back to the red pilled coffee, she's not yours, it's just your turn. That will be evergreen. You can watch it 10 years from now and it's still just as applicable as it is today. You can watch the red pill is not for you 10 years from now with the Emma throne and the Rich Cooper thing, and that still be applicable. Every video is still applicable. Yeah, it is what it is, but that's the thing. It is what it is. But I mean, YouTube shouldn't be your only thing anyway, and this is just general business advice, is that multiple sources of revenue. So if any, it's a risk thing. Let's say YouTube boots me from their platform tomorrow. That would suck, but I won't end up with like Stefan Molyneux where I'm panicking and I have nothing else going for me. So what did I do? This is good for you guys. Even if you just have like a great job you like, maybe drop ship something. Maybe play around with crypto or investing in the stock market, or write a book. Look, I wrote a book. It's not, I mean, it's hard, but it's easy. Does that make sense? As long as you do it, it's done. It's like college. Getting all the assignments done is going to be better than handing in half of your perfect assignments and then getting a 50%. Both of you guys are going to get 50%, but the other guy's far better off. Oh yeah, my being short man video, same, yeah. So all these things, all these videos are a collection of mental models, and taken together will encompass, as best as I can, what it means to be a man with frame. And if they achieve what they're meant to achieve, and I hope, and it's really up to you guys how well they do. Like I hate to have all the power put on you guys, but that's the way it works. You as the audience, you engaging in chat, you doing likes, you subscribing, you sharing, all that stuff. Whether this succeeds or fails is all on your shoulders. And I don't mean to put the pressure on you. My job is to persuade you to do that. And that's where I put out the videos that I do. And I really hope it works. And to be fair, if I just wanted to be the wham and ain't shit guy, I would just go back to corporate life. Honestly, corporate paid way better than this. You know those guys talking about 6-figure salaries and that's when you made it and you're a true alpha male? I was there. I didn't like it. I decided to walk away from all that and just do this. I found it much more, and this is going to be, you'll probably hear it more often. It's kind of the reason I even bothered doing this and working with Rolo and working with Rich and John and Troy and them. My most gratifying time in the military, and anybody in the military, chime in. I'd love to hear if this resonates with you too. If you guys don't know, you have a military trade. Mine was top secret communications. And you have postings. You can get posted to a ship, sail on the ship, do bridge communications, set up the circuits, handle all the cryptography. There's the shore office where you handle like all the security for the base. It's like a network operations center, a NOC. There is deployments. Gonna go to the Middle East. Gonna go look for pirates off the coast of Somalia. Did all that shit. And you'd think the deployment would be the most gratifying part of the job, but it wasn't. For me, it was my time being an instructor at fleet school. Training guys that just got off of basic training how to be good sailors and good tradespeople. And I found that extremely rewarding. I got tons of stories, very funny. In fact, I'd say the proudest day of my life was the day that I got sick and that my boss had to teach for me, and he started bad-mouthing me to the students, and the students kicked him out of the class and told him if he comes back, they're going to beat the shit out of him. So I got a call while I was throwing up. You got to come back to work. And I'm like, what? You got to come back to work. So I get into the office, they explain everything, and my boss, I mean, my boss's boss, the senior instructor, didn't really like him either. So he's like, look, we're not going to make a big deal out of this, but you can't get sick till the end of course. I'm like, fair enough. So I walk in, I look like shit, and they're all like apologizing, like, look, sorry, we were kind of like insubordinate. I'm like, just do your assignment. We're fine. I thanked them. They ended up buying me a bunch of beer at the end of course. I'm supposed to buy them beers, and it was just like that singular event was the most proud I've ever been out of an entire military career. And part of doing this with you guys, and this is my sincere moment, is that it kind of recaptures that in just that little way. Like I said, I may make fun of 80% of you guys ain't shit, and that's fine, but there's always this one guy in here who was gonna commit suicide, and then I actually tweeted it, I pinned it on my tweet. I bought fuck files, and it kind of flipped things around for me. It was the start of my journey to make myself better. Or my things with my wife have been going better than ever after your consults, or, stuff like that. And it's like those little ones, those little peers of hope. That's the reason that kind of keeps me grounded, keeps me doing what I do, and keeps me doing my best to give you guys the best content I can with as little wham and ain't shit content as I can. So anyways, yeah, that's about as mushy as I'm going to get. Having said that, I think it's Rich's channel for Rule Zero. We're starting in 30 minutes. Go get him. It's going to be fun. What's our topic? Something about relationships. I think it's like about that fat guy who did his pregnancy belly with the pregnant chick, so it'll be fun. Yeah. Oh, Navy Blue, appreciate the candor. Anyways, I'm done. I'm going to go have some breakfast. Have fun, boys. Cheers. Oh yeah, I gotta do the thing. Where's the stupid thing? Switch back to the, yeah. So I was listening to your book on Audible. Loved it, especially that you read it yourself. Rolo's was hard to listen to. Oh, fun fact. I think Rolo might be doing book 4 himself, so that should be fun. We were talking a bit about it, so we'll see if he finally wants to go into it, so that'll be good. You probably can't hear this because of the music going up, but I wanted to have some kind of outro. Cheers, Coach Pedro. Is that a Spanish joke? Anyways, guys, have fun.